Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. Big shout out to the New England Free Jacks, 10-1, just dominating the league. Have the longest winning streak in MLR history. I know it's just, not been the longest league ever, but let's go Free Jacks. We got security here. We're keeping Soapy Pre-Op out, or whoever made that attack on the 2-year anniversary show. We still don't know who did that. We're going to get to the bottom of it. But my guest this week, a good friend of mine, Richard Bates. Batesy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
No, happy to have you on. And I know we've been trying to plan this for a little while, so I'm glad we were able to make it work.
Date that worked for sure.
But where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm born and raised Nashua, New Hampshire. Lived there pretty much my whole life. Went away to as far as Rochester, New Hampshire for a short stint, and been in Hollis, New Hampshire now since I think 2005. So haven't gone very far. I love New Hampshire.
We get that a lot on the show. I feel like a lot of people on here.
I've traveled everywhere inside the U.S. except for Alaska and Hawaii. In fact, I've played softball in every one of those states except for Alaska and Hawaii. So, and I've been to many countries, but I'll tell you, I'll never not live in New England. I love New England. It's my favorite place.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Now, what's 3 things that everybody should know about you?
So if they don't know about me by now, so I actually, as a single father, I got full custody of my kids when they were 5 and 3 years old, and had them all the way through. They're going to be 21 and 24 this year, so yes. Wow. I'm old. It's okay. I have no problem with saying that at this point. Used to, but that's definitely one thing they should know. I mean, everyone knows that softball has been my blood for 30 plus years. And I love it, even though I can't play to the level I used to. It's amazing. And I have got friends I've been friends with since I was 4 years old, man. I'm loyal to the T. You see me at the fields, man. I love everybody. I'm the non-drama guy most of the time, so most of the time. But
No, awesome. And I gotta say, speaking of old, I am rocking a Nirvana shirt. I did hear someone refer to them as oldies, and I go, are we really at that point yet? Was the 90s that far away?
So it's funny, some of the oldie stations now play songs that I'm like, yeah, that's not oldies, or am I oldie?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it, so. Now, this is the biggest question we have on the show, and it's with the theme of the show, and we ask everybody this, and we get a lot of different answers. What does it mean to you to be an American?
So I've thought about that. I mean, I've watched the show, and I know that question comes up, but I'm like, so for me, especially because I've traveled so much, there's so much more freedom here. We have the ability to do things that other countries can't do. I mean, even Canada with their health program, if you need a knee replacement, you could be on the wait list for 4 or 5 years if you need a knee. If I go to get my knee, I could go do it tomorrow. It's going to cost me, but for me, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I traveled to China for work, and you definitely see a big difference. Like Hong Kong's was kind of Americanized-ish, but you go into mainland China and it's such a difference. The USA is just such a great place to live, and people need to take more advantage of that.
I brought this up a lot on the show. We did an episode with my buddy Vinny. He lives in Hong Kong. And we're doing an episode. We didn't do it in the studio. It was obviously he's in Hong Kong.
Yep.
And he had to be careful about what he said.
So things have changed. It's no longer an English province. China took it back over, and it was actually just transitioning when the first time I went over there. So you walk around downtown Hong Kong, and you definitely feel like you're in like a big city like Boston or New York, and you just kind of get around and do some things. But you had to be careful of what you wore, what you said. But the minute you went over to mainland China, it was like night and day. And I know that's starting to transition more into where Hong Kong is. So I understand where he's at.
Yeah, so it was kind of shocking because we're doing the show and I go, and I've said this a bunch of times on Let Freedom Ring, I never worry about what I say on here. I'm not worried about the government coming down. Maybe Merrimack TV, maybe Colin will be upset with me. But I never worry about the government doing something to me.
Yeah, it's funny. The biggest thing you have to worry about now is getting in Facebook jail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a crazy thing in itself. That just blows me away how much they're trying to censor a little bit there. But yeah, that's just a website doing that. That's not the government doing that. You know, as long as you're not threatening anyone for the most part to a presidential level, you can say almost anything you want to say.
Big shout out to Natasha Bover. She's in Facebook jail quite a bit. But I do want to talk about your softball career because it's definitely a big part of your life. It's
Oh, yeah.
something I know you really enjoy. We're going to be teammates this year for the first time.
I'm
I
excited.
think,
Yeah.
So how'd you get into it?
So the crazy thing is I played softball maybe twice in my life through high school as part of a gym class. I was a basketball soccer player.
I can see you as a basketball player.
Diehard both. Oh, I was a nasty goalie in soccer. I love it. I actually played up until about 6 years ago. My knees said no more. But those were my two main sports, and got out of high school, and my friend went to go work for a company down in Chelmsford, and they had a co-ed softball team, and he got picked to run it. So you always had to have two girls, which we were always struggling to get girls on the team, and then a bunch of the guys. So we all showed up, started playing, and got addicted. I mean, just so much fun, so many things. And once you got better at it, teams found out, and they picked you up and asked you to play. And I went from playing that one team to playing for like 7 different teams during the week, a colored schedule to figure out where I was going. It was crazy. And, I know you played with Chad.
Yep.
Chad was actually part of that crew.
Really?
He was a young kid that we brought in to play at that work team. And, we just went from there.
Yeah, 'cause I'm actually not sure how much older Chad is than I am. So he's a kid when you're...
So Chad is probably, if I had to guess, Chad's probably 45-ish now.
Okay.
He was about a 7-year difference from me. I'll be 52 this year. And yeah, but he was always a pure athlete. I mean, people don't even realize how great of an arm he actually used to have. He still has a great arm, but the guy used to stand at the fence in the beginning of the Industrial League, and wait for people to turn third so he could throw him out by 10 steps because he was just that good of an athlete.
Now, Chad is like, I mean, he's on this level of, I don't know what it is. Like, you watch him play and you're like, man, he just has the mechanics that you just...
He's not a big guy. Can hit the ball long. Always could hit the ball long. Was fast. I played basketball with him. He played football. He was just an all-around athlete,
Yeah, no. Big shout out to Chad. We love you. Now, how long have you been playing for?
So I figured out it's a little over 32 years now I've been playing. So, yeah. And I'd say I played competitively up until the last 5 or 6 years. Things break down as you get older, but I still have fun, still go out and play with the guys. I'm not that power hitter anymore. I'm not that... sliding to second isn't an option anymore. I'm just happy to get to first.
Do you play now? Because I got to ask this. Tournament ball has exploded. Everybody's wanting to do it. I mean, I'm involved with it, with the pint. But you were probably doing tournaments before it was even cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've played for the same tournament now that I'm in my 17th year playing for. It's was the Sports Illustrated World Series of softball, and Sports Illustrated stopped sponsoring it, and it became the Ad World Series of softball. It was started 34 years ago, and I got brought into it from some guys I played for a team up in Manchester with, and it's just great. It travels. It's a different location every year. It's just we had up to 1,400 players in this at one point, and but I did that, but I also traveled with the local team. I mean, I traveled with Tim Keddy for a while. I traveled with a couple of other teams, Giant Glass, but we went and traveled locally, and then all of a sudden we started getting on planes. Next thing I know, like with Keddy, we were in Florida. We played a tournament down there to qualify for the Worlds. We're in Detroit. What a wonderful place that was. Sterling Heights, Liberty Park, not there anymore, for good reason. And but we were in the Wild World Sports Complex, and Hurricane Andrew came through.
Okay.
It turned into a one pitch. So we had 2 houses, bunch of guys, all excited for this tournament. No power, no showers other than cold. It's a crazy tournament, but I've traveled with so many different teams, and you've always had to pay your own way. And now you see all these teams that get full sponsorships and everything else. Kind of crazy, but good for them. I mean, we were staying 4 guys to a room, back in the day. I don't share a room with anyone anymore. I'm like, I'm too old for that.
Now, have you noticed like the because I do believe like Southern New Hampshire's turned into a hotbed for softball. Have you seen like the changes? I mean, being around the game
it's
so
funny.
long.
It's come and gone. It was like there was a time when there was really a ton of teams, a ton of players, and then there was about a 5 or 6 year gap where it just seemed to fade away. And now it seems to be spiking right back up again, which is great. I mean, I follow a bunch of the pages. You know, I watch Rhino's team. I watch him when he posts all the things with the tournament results, and it's great. It's just great to see the sport starting to flourish again and just kind of get jacked up with a lot of players, both male and female. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, like it's just the growth that we're seeing is nuts. So
Well, think about our pickup league. I mean, how many people started showing up to that? And
Yeah.
that was amazing. We had such a fun time. And thank you for running that. That was awesome.
thank
That
you.
just extended the year a lot longer than it usually does, and it's just fun to hang out with everybody.
I know we did have to start capping it because we're like, okay, there's a lot of interest for this, and I just think people love to play, no matter what the level is. What are some of your favorite moments you've had in your softball career?
So favorite moments would, one of my favorite moments in softball is I met a team out of Ireland. I was in Vegas for the '07 tournament. There was the Sports Illustrated, and I met this team out of Ireland called the Danny Boys. And had I just thought that they named themselves that because, everyone knows the song.
Yeah.
But they were actually sponsored by a whiskey company.
Okay.
So the kid that ran the team, his uncle had won the lottery in England. He was from Ireland, and took the winnings and bought his favorite distillery,
Okay.
Danny Boy whiskey. And I was not a whiskey drinker at the time. It was either beer or it was maybe vodka. And they gave me some of that whiskey, and I became a whiskey to Scotch drinker because of them. But they were just an amazing group that put their team together out of Ireland, where the sport was nothing at the time. They've basically started the sport over there, and I got lifelong friendships with that. In fact, I'm taking my kids at the end of June to go visit these guys in Ireland. I'm going to Ireland, France, and the Channel Islands, where I played for a team for 5 years out of the island of Jersey off the coast of France at this tournament. I got hooked up through the tournament director. They needed a pitcher, and I played 5 years with them, and just amazing people you meet through it. So I have friends across the world that played softball, and that just expanded, and Facebook's great because I can keep track of them all.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. And what's it like, playing overseas or playing? Because did they have the same customs as we do?
So
or-
I've played. Actually, some of the great moments in softball for me is playing over in Ireland. I played in Ireland. I played in the Channel Islands. I was actually supposed to play in Croatia one year, but I couldn't. I had an injury, which would have been kind of neat. But over there, they don't have traditional softball fields. They have, as they call them, soccer pitches, and they change some of the lines and they play on it. But the ground in Dublin area is like sliding on cement. Trust me, I slid on it. Not fun. And then the Channel Islands, the same thing. They turned basically soccer fields into softball fields. But they've the Jersey guys, and it's a small island. They have formed such a family around it, and they have so many players. They have their own. It's called the JSA, which I laugh because that's the Justice.
Yeah.
But the JSA over there, and they post their games. They played indoor. They're indoors inside on basketball courts. So they're diehards. They do what they can to play, but it's a little different there. But yeah. It's fun. It's basically the same rules for the most part. They're not UTRIP or ASA. They're a different governing body, but the rules are mostly the same. There's nothing weird like when you go play in Canada and they tell you can't tag up from third.
Oh, yeah.
No, screw you. I can tag up from third and go.
Yeah.
Like
They have like the similar passion. Like, we love it. I mean, because we all probably played baseball, right?
never played baseball as a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the one thing people are like, you must have played a ton of baseball. I'm like, no. Gym class. I said
Yeah.
soccer and basketball. So if you ever see my swing, it's unorthodox. It's not the normal swing. People always, and I also, the way I throw the ball sometimes is different just because I only threw around in the yard.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
not my thing. But no, baseball was not my passion as a kid. In fact, I never even had interest in playing baseball, but softball, it's in my blood. I hope to be around to play in the senior league. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen? Like, now, we all have softball stories of things that have gotten a little out of control. You get a lot of people, they want to compete, they want to do stuff, they want to win. I've seen a lot of crazy things. I feel like it could be a reality show.
Oh, yeah.
is there something that you've seen that you're just like, wow, that was way over the top?
I mean, other than like, I've seen a couple triple plays in my time, which are awesome to see, especially as long as you're not the one that hit into it. It was not me, thank God. But I mean, I've seen some crazy, collisions. I've seen some crazy arguments. And that's the funny thing. And like on people on their own team, I've seen somebody come out of their own dugout to just start, messing with the right fielder. So, I mean, those are kind of the crazy things I've seen all through the years. I mean, there's been more incidents where, like, you'll see an ump make a call that you just can't believe. I mean, out of nowhere that has nothing to do with the play, but yeah, that's about it for me.
I will say on the Raccoons, playing on there, one time DC had lost his mind on us because he kept making the last out every game. And everybody kept trolling him, and it got to the point where he finally had enough. He's not a Facebook guy or anything like that. So, because that's what's kind of happened. Like with Facebook, like now we troll each other to our faces too. And someone said just, government beers one more time to him, and he like threw a bat at the team. I thought he was going to go into the left field and just throw the ball out of the field. But Teddy Senior walks over and goes, "Government beers." I go, "No, he's already upset." But that was and then 15 minutes later he's fine. But
yeah. I played with a weekend league with DC, and I also played in the Hudson League with DC. So yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
I like playing ball with him. He hit that home run against us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I went, "You don't hit home runs." And I'm like, and of course I was my joking thing. Check the bat. No, there's nothing wrong with his bat. He just got a hold of it and got rid of it. So, yeah, he's only the one of 2 home runs that I gave up in that whole finals.
I do want to talk about this a little bit because the Raccoons. I know we went to NewPower for for 2021. We kind of had a stranglehold on that league for a little bit. What was it like knocking us off finally?
Shout out to my team. The guys are awesome. This is one of my favorite teams I've ever played with. They just nobody gets on top of each other. They, everyone pretty much supports each other, which is awesome to play on a team like that. And everyone kind of ruled us out because we always start slow. We were laughing about it, just the other night.
And I am now a member of Country.
Yeah. There's a laugh out. I go. We're never going to win the first game of the season. We just don't do it. We tend to go, maybe 500, 400 till the midpoint, and then something clicks. We just head in the team. We have a decent defensive team, but going into the playoffs, we were definitely underdog. Especially against your old team. Your old team was a bunch of great players, good bats. Just you guys could put up 20, 30 runs without a problem, and luckily that just didn't happen to us in the playoffs. So
now, does anything go in? Because obviously, so you got the MVP. And I think you were deserving of it.
Well, and I appreciate it. A lot of guys on the team deserved it, but I was definitely honored that I got it.
Does a lot go into your pitching game plan? Like you're like, okay, let's say I'm facing the Raccoons tonight. Well, then the next night I'm facing Atomic Launch. Like, what goes into thinking about just pitching from day to day?
So depending on the team, and I've played a long time now, so I know a lot of the batters, and I'm one of those guys that actually watches when I'm not pitching how people are swinging. Like the team we played last night, they're not the overly patient hitters, but they're a great team. They're fast, they're a good team, but with the non-patient hitters, you give them garbage. You try and throw it inside. You got to keep it close, or they're gonna try and take a walk. But it depends on who the player is and what the team is and what my stance is on how I'm going to pitch. And if you kind of the finals there. I pitched around certain players on your team because they can hurt us. I mean, Amadeus hits the ball 4,000 feet when he wants to. I worried about him. J-Rowe, Chad, Teddy Jr. I mean, you had a lot of power hitters that, we had to try and pitch to. And luckily, I had some pitches that just weren't good for you guys. So I was happy about that. Schulte worked that whole offseason learning how to hit that curveball, and now it's not as deadly to him anymore.
Yeah, because I always think I couldn't be a pitcher. I don't think I could do it. I think there's a lot that goes into it, and I think there's a lot riding on pitchers.
It's funny because everyone who doesn't pitch will sit back and go, "Why didn't you just throw strikes?" And I'm like, "Oh, so that's what I'm supposed to do."
Oh, maybe then you should do it.
It is such a minute area that you can throw the ball to be a strike, and it's also depending on how the ump's feeling that night because. the strike zone kind of changes by umps. It changes, because some umps it's where it lands, where it's not supposed to be. So other umps it's where it crosses the plate. Did you get the release right? It's a lot into it. And when you kind of lose, your rhythm, and we all do it as pitchers, you're done. If you're a good pitcher, when you're done, and you tell your coach to switch out. Some pitchers go in a little bit longer than they should, and it kind of, after the 6th or 7th walk, kind of hurts you there for a while.
Yeah, at some point, it's like, okay, and that's the thing with anything. Some nights you don't have it.
Oh yeah, and I know when it's gone, and that's
Yeah.
the good thing after playing for 32 years, and maybe 15, 16 years ago, I might have been that guy that's like, no, I'll get it back, don't worry about it. No, now I'm like, after a couple of batters, you're like, yes, this is going well.
All right, I do want to get into the fan questions because you got a bunch here. First one from John Nagel, coach of the Pint. Big shout out to Nagel. In your opinion, nicest complex you played in at softball at?
Nicest complex. So I think, and it's probably the community complex in Albuquerque. I think it's called the Albuquerque Community Complex. It's just outside of downtown Albuquerque. It's up in Arroyo. Probably the best fields I've ever played on. The complex has 5 fields. 4 of them are surrounded around like a big, almost like a bar, where you can go up or lower and watch the games, but it's pure turf. Everything's a pure hop. It's a great facility, and there's one field that you have to walk down a little bit to, but that was by far the best fields I've ever played on, complex I've ever played at, and I've played it a lot. And I'll tell you, I got a shout out to the Big Dream Fields across the country. They're basically replica fields of like Yankee Stadium, Fenway, which was great to go in there and hit in Fenway.
Yeah.
And, you got Wrigley, you've got them all. But that facility there, hands down, it was the best. Not the best tournament that I've been to in Albuquerque, but the fields were amazing. Awesome. You can't drink alcohol barely anywhere in Albuquerque. Sorry, if you're playing softball, alcohol is after the games. We couldn't even do it after the games.
So, oh, really?
Yeah, that was a problem.
They're very, is it
strict? It's very, very strict, yeah.
Okay.
And it's not like, I think it's less strict in Salt Lake, where they have those restrictions. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
All right, awesome, good to know. From Kendall Payne Glover, member of the 4 families. Shout out to Kendall. We're thinking of you. How does it feel to be the second best softball player behind Dan Bollier, the man? Kendall's a big fan of mine.
That's funny. Well, I'm nowhere in the Pipes range. Pipes is his own, but no, I've held my own for years. As I said, I used to be a power hitter, before I had the shoulder surgery, and I was always known for the long ball. And now the team laughs about it. I led the team in infield hits last year.
Oh, really?
With a knee brace and everything. So thank you to all you infielders that just didn't field the ball well. I appreciate it. So,
were you always a pitcher, or is it?
So it's funny. When I started playing, I played outfield. With that work team and my friends, and then we were always struggling for pitchers, so I tried it and I liked it. So for the most part, I played either third base or I pitched, and occasionally first base. But they throw me in the outfield here and there. But as I got older, it was pitcher, first base, third base if you needed me to.
Yeah.
Third base is like a soccer goalie. You're just basically in your stance. You're moving a little left or right, make the ball, make the throw. Hope your first baseman catches it.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a big one. From Raymond Chiffy, and you guys used to be teammates, right?
Yep.
With M&N.
Yep. And I work with Ray. So,
do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Ray's a great guy. He's also pitches.
Yep.
Why won't you wear sleeves?
I hate sleeves, and he knows it. I hate sleeves. I don't wear a jacket 99% of the time. In the winter, you'll see me wearing what I'm wearing right now. If it's windy, I'll throw a windbreaker on. I just don't like my arms covered, and it's not like I have huge arms. I just don't like them covered. When I have to wear a long sleeve shirt for work or something, I'm not a happy guy, and he knows it.
It's funny that he said that, because then I was like, wait a second. He's right. I've never noticed that,
I remember playing in November. Did you look at I just have a jersey on.
Yeah. Never thought about that until he said it, and I was like, wait a second, he's right.
Don't worry, it's Chiffy. He's always right.
we used to walk to school in middle school, and my buddy Andy he'd wear a T-shirt even in the winter, and I'm like,
My mother used to scream at me. I wore shorts riding the snowmobile around the neighborhood when I was a kid. I won't do it now. I wear gear when I ride now. It's too cold for that.
Yeah. Justin Franco wants to know, or I don't know if he wants to know. He just said a statement. This guy still owes me water.
I know exactly what it was. So Justin, when I first got my boat, Justin wanted to do some like wakeboarding and stuff like that. And we always try to work out a date, and it never worked out. I mean, I had the boat for 7 years. I sold it when I put both kids into college, and I still owe him a day out on the water. He's right.
Well, big shout out to Justin. I know him and his wife. They're pregnant again.
Yeah, congratulations. I'm psyched for them.
You know, our prayers have been
couple.
answered.
Oh yeah.
Great people.
Yep.
We love Justin.
I was there the night they met. It was at the leukemia tournament.
Was okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were hanging out, talking down by the field while I was getting ready to go out and up another game. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the day that they met, because that's the day they started talking.
I do miss that tournament. That was so much fun.
It was so much work to put together, and unfortunately, all the outside teams didn't get the fact it was a charity. And when you have people in the stands trying to fight the umpire, and especially the umpire being me, it just gets kind of crazy. And Jess had a lot going on with her life, and she has a newborn, and so it's not gone, but we'll see.
We'd love to see it back, and I get it. It's hard running anything. Like people, it's hard to monitor people and keep them under control and everything like that. So
no, it's the nature of some people. Some people don't get it, and some people do. That's why I said I love playing for the team I do now. I mean, Kung Fury. Shout out, guys. It's so stressless. It's so fun to be there. And if somebody makes a mistake, we just make fun of each other and have fun with it.
Well, I used to play with the Clark brothers back in Manchester like 10 years ago. And when NewPower folded, I was like, you hate to jump to the team that just beat you, but at the same time, I was like, I would like to play with Alex. I'd like Alex to be my coach. Like, I think I'll enjoy that more than another team.
You'll hear me say to Roscoe, love the glasses, because once he got the glasses and contacts, he didn't drop a ball anymore. Yeah. And I was like, and I say to him all the time, and it's the biggest smile out of him, and I love it. As I said, the entire team. It's just such a great team. And we've picked up guys over the past couple of years that have just added, that have been great. I mean, Hamill's awesome. I love playing with him. He's just got such a great attitude, and Porter, and, all the guys,
No, it's a great group. And I get to be with Jesse and Brandon, two good friends of mine. So, most controversial question I think that came through from Sean Ryan. Are walks in slow pitch softball necessary? To me, it's Bush League.
So it is necessary, but I kind of agree with him to a point. I think, if it's anything close to the plate, you should be swinging. But the problem is, as I said earlier, with umpires, and I umpire, so I mean, I'm criticizing myself too, is, sometimes that strike zone isn't consistent. And, some guys take advantage of that. Some guys don't even want to swing the bat. I won't name anybody. They run the Industrial League. Want to walk on every time they get up. But, as a pitcher, that you asked, kind of brought it forward, there's certain people that get up. I know I got to throw a first meatball strike. So let them watch it go over the plate because they're looking for a walk. So, yeah, that gets kind of frustrating, when people are just looking out there to walk. It's a hitter's game. You should be going up there to hit. But at the same point, if it's nothing that you can hit, I get it. But I think they should add one more ball to the count in slow pitch softball, just to make it more of a
Some
hitter's
leagues
game.
start 0-0. Some do.
Yep.
I played in leagues like that. Church League was like that before, but now they want. The problem is they want to keep the games moving.
Yeah, but I mean, that one extra ball isn't going to make the game go longer, because it's going to drop to the catcher. It's going to throw it back. It's not like an extra foul where you're waiting for the ball to come back in. So, I mean, that would be my take on it if they ever made a change to it. But from somebody who used to walk a lot, I get it. But I used to walk a lot because they wouldn't throw me anything I could hit.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're throwing it 3 feet short, I'm going to either step across the front of the plate and be out, or I'm going to pop up, or I'm going to hurt myself, or all three. So
I guess my only take to it would be like, if you were saying there's no walks at all, that's full advantage pitcher. I mean, they could just throw whatever they want.
I mean, at that point, you're just, in a situation where you got bases loaded and you have the best hitter up there, you're going to not throw anything. I'm going to just keep rolling the ball.
I mean, have you ever taken BP when, who's ever throwing it just can't get the ball there, and you're like, well, why are we doing BP right now?
Well, that was with many of my teams when, and I'm guilty of it too. I will tell you, when I pitch BP for some reason, I don't give the best pitches because I don't do that in the game either. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the best BP pitchers are the guys that aren't usually pitchers that just know to just throw like the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I do have to disagree with Sean. I think it has to be a part of the game. You might not like people taking walks, but like it's still based on baseball. Like, let's not forget that. Like, you can't just give one advantage you can't give it all to the pitcher. You just can't.
But a modification, I could see, a league's doing a modification to it that if it's getting out of hand. But yeah, no, I agree with them to a point, and then others I don't. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't think most people want to get up and walk. Softball is that I want to get up and smash. It's not, again, it's not baseball. It's lobbed up to you.
You're generating all your own power. You're doing everything yourself with that ball, and that's what you should be going up there to do. If you're going up to walk, that's the only thing is you're probably hurt.
Yeah.
I
did draw 5 walks in a church game one time, and they knew I was never going to swing because I was hurt.
The shoulder, right?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't this was last year. I pulled my hamstring.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't supposed to play. Someone else got hurt. I go, well, I can stand in the box. I went in as a righty, and he got close. And I said, it's hard to pitch to a lefty. What if I just stand there? And I remember at one point, the coach of the team was like, he's not going to swing. You know that. He goes, I can't do it.
See, that's the thing is as a pitcher, if you get something mental in your head where I have to throw a strike, now your mechanics. If your mechanics don't take over, you're in trouble. And one of the things I switched up this year and I'd never done before is I actually do a front spin pitch now that I didn't do for almost the entire time I've been a pitcher. But I found when it's windy, it's the easiest thing to throw a strike with. But it's also an easier ball to hit.
Yeah.
So it's something I hadn't done, but I used it more, and I actually used it in Vegas this year because the wind was so bad. It cuts through the wind a lot better, and but the pressure of somebody walking, when they're trying to take a walk, it makes it even worse.
I could totally imagine.
It's so frustrating. And then if you get somebody with the different heights, you get. I played against somebody, it's like 4'11", and I'm like, what is the strike zone? If I got to get a 3 feet release, or if I'm playing ace, I got a 6 feet release, it's already out of the strike zone.
Yeah.
And they just laugh because they know they're going to walk.
Is what it is.
Yep.
From Drew Carlson, first time question from him. If you had to swing one brand of softball bat out there, what would it be, and why would it be choosing Louisville?
So, shout out to Drew and the team there up in Saskatchewan, Canada. I met these guys this year in Vegas at the tournament. Great group of people. And Drew knows I'm a miking guy, true and true. So that's probably why I put that question in there. I never owned a Louisville, never will. No offense to anyone who does, but I started off with the Worth EST, and then I rolled into miking, and I've never owned anything other than a miking since. Love their bat brand. They've always been good to me. Been durable bats. So, and he knows that he owns a mic in himself. And but I think he just really wanted to see what I respond to that.
I do own 2 Louisvilles myself. I'm not using them this year because I think they just run their course. But yeah, Mike and I do like them.
I still have the bat that I swing the most in my bag, the Psycho, and it's got to be 7 years old at least at this point, but I'm the only one swinging it, and so it's pretty durable. Unlike the past years when we were in the first parts of softball, only 1 or 2 of us would buy the really good bats, and everybody on the team would use it. So the bats would last maybe a season and a half. But now, as you see, everyone has their own bat, which is great to see. It really is, because when you were buying the $300-$400 bats and you're the only one on the team, and a guy takes it, gets mad, and throws it against the fence. Yeah, that was
not a good thing.
That would kind of tweak it a little bit.
I have to buy a new bat myself. I just haven't done it yet. And I don't know how everybody's swinging 25s and 26s. I'm like, I need at least 27.
So I used to swing in the 30s when I first started. I think I had a 34, and then I went to the 30s, and then I dropped to 28 for the longest time, and then I dropped to 27, and I actually have in my bag is a 26 and a half. And I like it, and it's still not broken in because it's probably got 100 swings on it.
Yeah.
I've let a few people swing it in BP, and it's a nice bat, but my Psycho it's comfortable. You get so comfortable with the bat, and I think it's a psychological thing there too. I think I could swing any bat out that's made on the market, but I'm in my head. I like the mic-in. I like this. This is all I'm going to swing.
I think I agree. I mean, everybody always says it's not the bat, it's the player. I go, yeah, that's probably true. But if you are swinging something too heavy, then that can be the player. That could be the bat and the player. Jesse DeLay wants to know who would win in a softball match: Led Zeppelin and their roadies, or Pantera and their roadies? That's a pretty detailed
softball match
question there.
I was going to say, I'm like, well, seeing as though the Led Zeppelin group, their roadies are probably in their 70s to 80s, so they're swinging senior bats. Against Pantera guys would be in their 40s, so I'd go with the Zepp guys because they got the senior bats.
Okay.
That's what I would go with, but yeah, there's definitely more youth in the Pantera guys, and they'd also be more aggressive, I think, so.
I do like Pantera. They did the theme music for Rob Van Dam. I don't know if you remember him.
Oh, I know Rob Van Dam.
Yeah,
Yep.
so interesting. That was probably the most interesting question that we got all day. And I said Jesse's name right because for years I said Jesse DeLea. Had his son on the show. He goes, "That's not how you say my name." And I go, "Your father's never corrected me once."
Jesse's the guy that would never do that.
Yeah.
I love Jesse. Shout out to Jess for sure. But he's one of the most mellowest, greatest guys that I've played ball with. I've enjoyed hanging out with him for years, and he's been gracious enough to have me over to his house a few times. And good times, good parties. His wife, by the way, makes the best hamburger.
We're going to get to that. And I will say Jesse is a good guy. One of my best friends, honestly. Like, if I ever need to turn to him for anything, that's someone that you're like, he'll be there for you.
Yeah.
Mary DeLay wants to know. Now you talk about burgers.
Oh no, did she ask that question?
She might want this. She might want this compliment. Who makes the best burgers?
Oh, she does, hands down. I've told her it 1,000 times, and I'm not a thin person, so I've had plenty of burgers in my time, and I've had them everywhere. But I don't know what she does, but she mixes something together in that burger. It's amazing, and I've had it a few times. But yeah,
She certain seasoning or
yeah, I think she kind of told me a little bit of it one time, but I think she's keeping her recipe to herself. But she mixes a couple different cuts together and some seasoning. But it's an extremely flavorful burger.
Now I gotta ask. Now taking Mary off the table here, where is your favorite place to go get a burger?
In-N-Out Burger. You don't even have to go any further.
Really?
In-N-Out Burger. Anytime I'm on the West Coast.
We don't even have that here.
Nope. Anytime I'm on the West Coast, I am that guy that is there at 10 o'clock when they open and grabbing one for the plane on the ride home.
Really?
Vegas, just outside my hotel for that tournament I was just at. I was there for 10 days. And in October, I had In-N-Out 8 times. And I don't know what it is. It's just everything is fresh ground. They fresh press their fries. But I was just in California for work. I went to In-N-Out a few times. I actually took a customer there. Never been. They'd heard about it. It's a basic menu, but they have a secret menu. And so for me, my order is always the same. I get a 4x4 animal protein style. It's just 4 patties. It's their animal style means it's their sauce and their diced onions, and protein style is a lettuce wrap versus a bread, which is just amazing. And it's, under $10, with fries and a drink, and you're full for most of the day.
Now, are they like because I've had students that at my work tell me, like, if you ever get to the West Coast, you need to go here. Is it like a McDonald's or Burger King, or is it like more like a Five Guys?
Well, I'm not a Five Guys fan,
Okay.
and a lot of people are like, "Oh, Five Guys." So the best is In-N-Out Burger, and then from there, probably Whataburger out of Texas. Five Guys kind of in there for the quality, but I'm not as thrilled with it. But they're all fast food chains, and I will tell you this: the craziest thing is at In-N-Out Burger at 10 a.m. There's already a line,
Really?
and it gets so busy at lunchtime. They have people out there with tablets, taking orders 40, 50 cars back and just pushing them through. And it's just insane. And their basis of their company is they only expand a little each year. And so in our lifetimes, they'll never make it to the East Coast. I mean, the fact that they made it to Texas in the last 5 years was huge because I traveled to Texas for work, and also my softball team's out of Texas that I play with. And as soon as I get off the plane, my buddy knows that I want to go to In-N-Out, which kills him because his biggest gripe is that In-N-Out doesn't have bacon.
Oh.
Can't be a burger because it doesn't have bacon. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's so good. It's even fine without bacon. And I love bacon.
I'm not knocking that.
So you've never had it?
I've never been. No, but I hear about this because again, at my work, I have students on the West Coast, and they've said, you gotta,
As I said, they sprinkle something special on it. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing. And everybody that I've ever had come out to me with me to a tournament or travel with me for work and never headed, I take them there, and they all have the same reaction. They're like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" And I'm like, "Yeah." I've never had anyone go there and go, "I don't know what the big deal is."
Yeah.
Just it's really good.
I'll have to find a way without traveling to see if I can try that. I do want to get in top fives.
All right.
Do you have a top 5 favorite movies?
I do. I am a big, 70s, 80s comedy guy. You're talking Stripes and Caddyshack, classics. I can watch them 100 times. You roll into Better Off Dead. Anything with John Cusack through the 80s.
Oh.
His movies were just great. I do like Adam Sandler. A lot of people don't like all of his movies. I'll go see everything, even the bad ones. But most of them are good, like a Happy Gilmore. Those are my movies. But anything non-comedy related, I think the Lord of the Rings series that Josh, they did was amazing. The director, Jackson did. Great director. Adaptation was amazing. I was a huge Tolkien fan. In my 7th grade, we read The Hobbit, and I got hooked. I've read everything that he's put out, outside of the normals that everyone knows. But those would be my movies.
All right, awesome. I do know, over the years, it's like Adam Sandler couldn't knock it out the park for forever. It was gonna happen, but his first movies were amazing for comedy, like The Wedding Singer, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison.
I liked Waterboy. A lot of people didn't like Waterboy. I
enjoyed
laughed
it.
every time I watched Waterboy.
Is it Big Daddy?
Yeah, Big Daddy's a classic too.
I
wipe my own butt.
Yeah.
Classic line.
It's one of those things where I feel like this happens. If your career keeps going, Chris Farley, his movies will always be the best,
Yep.
but he never aged to the point where they started to get bad. I know he did the Ninja movie that wasn't great, but
It was okay. But the thing with Chris Farley, unfortunately, he was, his biggest influence was John Belushi.
yeah.
They died almost the same age in the
Yeah.
same way. And, it's a sad thing because I loved the dynamic between him and David Spade. And those are movies that I would still see, if they were still making them. So,
Yeah, I mean, and just my philosophy on comedians, even Will Ferrell started to struggle.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to hit a, must-see movie every time.
But if you start watching the Netflix versions of the movies that Adam started to do, they started getting good again.
Yeah.
So I mean, shout out to him. He's a smart guy. He's got a great production company. He puts out a lot. He puts his friends in every movie,
Yes.
as you can see. I mean, the same guys that probably don't work ever until he throws a movie together. But and he puts his wife in every movie.
Yeah.
She does a cameo, like a short cameo in every movie.
And a New Hampshire guy.
Yep. A couple of guys that I played with softball with up in Manchester, went to school with him.
Yep.
So they always talked about, going to school with him there and kind of knew him. He wasn't overly well known in the high school as much, but, they know him now.
The only thing I've ever had an issue with Adam Sandler was, you're from New Hampshire, goddamn Yankees fan, and you celebrate that so hard, and it's like,
Well, he has ties with New York. I think if I remember right, he actually grew up in New York for part of his life.
Okay,
too.
so that was probably part of it.
Believe me, whenever I see him with that stuff on, but he always wore the Bruins stuff.
He did love the Bruins,
Yeah.
yeah. He had that in Happy
Yeah.
Gilmore. Do you have a top 5 TV shows?
So I watch way too much TV these days. TiVo is, great for when I'm not around. I get things, but I like a lot of the older shows. Not so much old, like Shameless, one of my favorite shows that came out. I was a big, GOT fan. I mean, Game of Thrones was a big thing for me. But I'll even go old school, and I'll probably take flack for this, but I was a huge Buffy fan.
Oh, really?
But, Josh Whedon, amazing director, unfortunately is getting canceled out right now for some of the stupid things that he did. But he did so many series that I liked. He did the Buffy series. He did the Angel, which was the follow-on series to it, and my ex-wife and I used to watch those together. And they did the Firefly series, which should have never got canceled. That's Nathan Fillion. It's a great series. If you've never seen it, there's like a season and a half of it, and then they did a movie, a follow-on a few years later. But everything he's ever done has been really, really good. So I like pretty much anything Josh Whedon has put out there, and then Family Guy. I cannot not watch Family Guy. If I'm flipping through the channels and it's on, like on Night Swim or something like that, I can't stop watching it.
No, you can't miss out.
They had a marathon at Christmas time where they ran every episode straight through. No matter how many time of day you could flip it on and watch it, and that guy's just amazing what he does with that.
Yeah, I feel like Family Guy over the years has not got the shout outs that it used to. But quick question, did you watch any Ozark?
I haven't. So it's it's one of the things that's on my list to go through. It's amazing a lot of the shows that I haven't seen that everyone else has seen, and I'll go back and watch them later on. But there's just so much out there to watch that I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I will, I'll binge a show if I find something. I just recently binged the Gemstones.
Okay.
And hands down, 2 seasons, phenomenal, funny show. Written really well, just a great show that I never even thought about watching. Someone suggested it. I watched it on the flight to California and back. And I like getting into shows like that. But I've heard great things about Ozark. It took me years to watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And then I just started watching The Office.
Really?
And I know I'm such a, like everyone else has watched The Office, but I just started watching it like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and I'm through the 6th season of watching it. And I've seen clips through the years. Good show. I like Steve Carell, but I don't like him in the show.
Really?
I like everybody else but him for the most part, and here's a softball tie-in for you. So season 4, I think it's episode 11 or something like that. There's an episode where there's no parking in the parking lot.
Yep.
There's construction going on, and they get together all the heads of the companies.
The 5 families.
Yeah, into the meeting. So the guy that says just move the cars, and we could have done this by email. His name's Paul Faust. I played with him on a softball team.
Really?
That's his real name and his real company, and I never knew he was on the show. And then when the show was taping, that's when I was traveling with him. And if you go to his Facebook page, it says I was on an episode of The Office.
No way.
I'm like, it was just such a small world. So I sent him a message. I said, I just watched the episode. And he goes, you're kidding, right? Everyone's watched it 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, another big shout out was there was a Nashua branch.
Yeah, I'm past that. So yeah. And what kills me is though I paused it and I looked and I tried to figure out where the building was. They didn't film it in Nashville.
No, definitely not. They kept saying like the references was like, yeah, you're thinking northern New Hampshire. That's not what goes on in Nashville.
Yeah.
But do you have a top 5 favorite bands?
Yeah. So I'm a huge music person. My sister is 5 years older than me. She got me into a lot of the great bands, or I broke into her room and listened to her albums. Zeppelin is my number 1 rock band of all time. Love them. Just an amazing band. Aerosmith, kind of rolls in there. That was my first concert. I was 13 years old up in Portland Civic Center. Only reason I got to go is my parents thought they were smart. Told my sister, you can't go to the concert unless you bring your brother. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay, bought him a ticket. Bought me a ticket, and we went. And my parents are still, blown away at that. I was thrilled. It was great. General seating, a little kind of scary, when you're 13, but great concert. But I was a big rap guy too, like Run DMC, Public Enemy. Those are my bands, And I'm a big Rush fan too. So I'm like, I bounce all over. I like all types of music. And I said I actually DJ'd rap for almost a year down in Lowell. My friend was the producer down there and had me come down, and I did a nighttime show on JUL.
Okay.
So I mean, it's like old school rap was a big thing for me. And you had Angie on talking about some of the bands. And I'm like, she loves all the stuff I do. Yeah. I'm like, I'm like Big Daddy Kane. You go back to like Curtis Blow. Any of those guys, that was just an amazing time.
It really was. I mean, those are, Public Enemy, like, what was the album I had? It's Going to Take...
Fear of a Black Planet?
That was one, and then there was It's Going to Take a Nation of Millions to Stop Us or something like that. Like, they were great. That era, like, because today, like, I listen to rap and I go, what happened?
It depends on who it is. I mean, like, I'm a huge Eminem fan. I think most anything he touches turns to gold, and I like just kind of his story and everything that's kind of gone with it, and I'm a big Dre fan. I was an NWA fan. I liked everybody in that band, and but if you kind of roll through that, it's just some great music in there. But a lot of these new guys, I don't like a lot of it. So
I just don't like the style of it. I don't like the beats, but I do want to get into blank versus blank. We're a little short on time, so we're gonna get through these a little quick here. I'm gonna give you 2 things. You got to pick one and tell me why.
Okay.
Who is more responsible for the success of the New England Patriots for the last 20 years, Bill Belichick or Tom Brady?
So that's a tough one. I'm a 28-year season ticket holder for the Pats. I actually, the day I went to my job, which I'm still at, I actually put my name in for seats. It's really tough because if you look at Tom, he's been successful outside of New England and inside of New England. But his earlier years, that was all Belichick's defense. That was all Belichick's, coaching. But I think Tom took that team to another level. So I nudge it slightly to Tom, but I have respect for both of them.
Okay. So Tom is your overall answer? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I watch every Bucs game and every Pats game. Yeah.
I know, and I do too. I don't have the package, so I watch the Bucs when they're on. But
well, the great thing is like I don't always watch it live, but they always replay the games on the NFL Network, and Hugo picks it up, so I watch it a couple days later.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Prince or Michael Jackson?
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. I mean, Michael's such an innovator. I mean, he basically, if you've ever read into his story, how he went into the studio and just basically learned everything he could as a kid. I have to go with Michael. I can't even argue it. And Prince is just an amazing artist of his own. What he was able to do, and he, Prince could play any instrument. He was just, that talented. So, but yeah, Michael.
And there is a story where they asked Eric Clapton what's it like to be the best guitarist. He said, "I don't know, ask Prince." And all right, would you rather play softball or go snowmobiling?
Oh man, that's a bad one for me. I'm such a addict of both. I mean, nothing greater than being out on the sled in the middle of the woods on a long weekend, but I can play softball anytime, and I don't have to worry about the weather because I'll play in the middle of it, so softball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about hey, am I going to get out of here today? Hulk Hogan or The Rock?
Wow. And I've been watching, we kind of talked a little bit earlier about the Young Rock show, and I've been a fan of The Rock through, but I grew up old school, and I'll tell you my favorite wrestler of all time is Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Okay.
I love Jimmy.
He threatened me at one point.
Good for him. Yeah, I'd love for him to threaten me, but probably Hulk because he did more for the sport when it wasn't as popular as it is now, but Rock definitely elevated it,
I mean, we say this a lot on the show because Terry Bollea is the human being that he is, but the character of Hulk Hogan, to me, is the greatest character. And I even put him over Stone Cold Steve Austin because if it wasn't for the 80s, if it wasn't for WrestleMania 1, if that bombed, Vince is done. Yep. He's done. But Hogan was just the charisma and everything about him put wrestling on the map.
Yeah, I'm an old school guy. I'm like Andre. I like Sheik. I like, all those guys. I don't watch it as much anymore as I used to. But yeah, no, he definitely brought me into it.
Would you rather watch movies or TV?
Movies. Definitely movies. I love TV shows, but movies at least when you can get everything all into a 2 to 3 hour period versus getting drawn out, through weeks if you have to wait for it or binging for a whole weekend. So
I have to agree. At least that you can get to the beginning and end within a few hours. Mac Jones or Cam Newton?
Oh, Mac. I loved Cam. Don't get me wrong. I liked Cam when he was, with other teams as well. I thought we kind of bagged on him a little too much when he was here. He came in trying to learn a system he never did before. I think he tried his hardest. When he fumbled the ball in one game, everyone's like, "Well, that's it." I'm like, "Come on." I mean, everyone has fumbled the ball. He never had a clear shot of being here, and he's following the greatest quarterback of all time.
That was tough.
And I'll tell you, anyone who says Tom's not the greatest quarterback of all time, just a sour person. Every number, everything he's done, and coming from his size and what he did, Tom's the best ever. But yeah, Mac, I'll take Mac because Mac at least has a shot. He's learning the system. I thought he played fairly well. He hasn't done anything to lose a game for the most part. All quarterbacks do, but so far, I'm happy with him. I'm definitely happy with him. I mean, I'm not expecting to ever see another Tom again. We never expected to see Tom in the first place. I got my season tickets when we drafted Drew. When I was a big Bledsoe fan. Yeah. And when they swapped him out for Bledsoe, I was like, ugh. And I'm like, and I was at the stadium. I'm like, I used to go to all the games.
Were you at the game where Bledsoe went out?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I was at the game with the tuck rule.
Yeah.
And anyone who wants to argue that, he got hit in the head. It was a freaking penalty either way. It didn't matter. All right. So I don't want to hear it anymore. But I've been at the snow games. I've been to so many classic games in that stadium. It's just in the old stadium and the new stadium. But yeah, no, you can't ever follow Tom. And so whoever came in after him, it didn't matter who it was. Unfortunately, it was him, and he didn't have a fair shot. But
Cam's been sacrificed,
Yeah.
unfortunately, not just here, but his play has gone down, and the Panthers were not a good team either. So I'm still a Cam Newton guy.
he carried that team the year to the Super Bowl, and when everyone gave him flack about losing it, I'm like, he went up against a juggernaut.
Yeah.
You know.
Broncos were stacked.
Yeah.
All right, toughest one in blank versus blank. This is the real questions here. Alex Clark or Kyle Clark? We don't put your
man.
feet to the fire here. But
I'm like sitting back. Well, Alex is my coach, so I have to say Alex no matter what. But Kyle definitely gets me fired up. Kyle will get me motivated to play. So I'm going to stay with Alex because he's my coach.
there you go. Big shout out to the Clark brothers.
Yeah.
Dougie, Roscoe, Kyle, Alex. They're just
Great group.
They remind me of my own brothers. There's 4 of them. And it's like it's crazy, and they're great guys. So, but Batesy, I really appreciate you coming
man.
on
Thanks
today.
for having me on.
This has been a great time.
It's been fun.
We got a game to get to in a few hours, so we're gonna do that. But everybody out there, have a great week. Keep your heads up and stay positive. But until next time, let freedom ring.